Welcome back to the channel. This game was played in the Arc Masters in England in February 1985. The game was against IM William Hartston, who was quite famous in the UK for co-hosting the BBC series The Master Game. The game started as a Sicilian defence. And a Taimanov variation. This move threatens knight to d6 check. A6 kicks the knight, which goes back to a3, which later is going to reroute to c2 and maybe d4. All normal standard stuff. Both sides castle. And here's the first slightly obscure move. Normal is bishop to b7 in this position. And instead of playing f4, Nigel opts for f3. f4 would have been more aggressive, trying to control the e5 square. Black's looking to play on the queen side. And rook to d8, maybe knight to e5 would have led to an equal position. And the queen's rerouted itself to the king side, indirectly putting pressure on the a6 pawn, as well as threatening f4 in some positions. The bishop drops back to overprotect the d pawn. Rook to c8 may have been an option to hit the c pawn. And here's the first critical moment of the game. Black opts to sacrifice a pawn for counterplay on the queen side. This actually threatens the a pawn, but b5 is the planned move. Nigel finally plays f4, threatening obviously f5, but also gives a nice square for the bishop to go to f3. And trade of rooks. Now the knight reroutes itself. This puts pressure on the d pawn, but also is eyeing the f5 square. Bishop drops back. And here bishop to d7. If you try to play the immediate queen to a5, hitting both the rook and the a pawn, then queen to d3 could have been played, and the knight's undefended on f5. Now the threat is at queen to a5. So queen to d3 is played, and black overprotects the knight. Gets the king active, and black starts his own minority attack on the king side. And here I would say this is probably the losing move of the game. Black puts the queen on c1, and I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind this was. Maybe to play rook to c8 and attack down the c file. But as we'll see later in the game, the black queen gets itself into trouble. This threatens to take 3 times on f5, not immediately obviously, as the rook on d2 would be hanging. So black continues with his attack on the king side. And white just drops his bishop back. And here Nigel plays bishop d4, good move, centralising the bishop. And here another quite a strange move from black. I'm not entirely sure what the idea again was behind this. The black king looks very weak, and if white can get something on the h file, then the king's going to be in a lot of trouble. Bishop d1, a slight mistake. I think bishop to e2 would have been a better move, because after bishop b4, the white rook can drop back to d1. Whereas if bishop to b4 was played now, the rook would have to move off the d file to a less desirable square. But again, black plays it accurately. He plays rook to d8, g8, sorry, and the threat is obviously bishop takes f4. But the king just sidesteps that. I mean, king to f1 may have been a better move, but now rook to h2's a serious threat. Black tries to shut down the diagonal for the bishop, because obviously after rook to h2, rook to h8, or rook to is potentially a problem. But rook to c2 is played to hitting the queen. And actually the queen's only got one square to go to, which is a1, which he plays, and b3 completes the trap of the queen, and he's got no squares to go. Potentially the move before, he could have played rook takes g3 and queen takes f4, but after a few checks, black runs out of checks and white's position is completely winning. So once b3 was played and the queen's trapped, Hartston resigned. This was one of the only games on record that Nigel played that was decisive. There were a few other games floating around that were all short draws. So there was just the one game from the Arc Masters. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the game, and until next time, bye for now. Cheers.